Welcome to PRISCI-ANTO Educational Academy. Today, I am going to explain you the Fourier transform. Definition of a Fourier transform. The Fourier transform, or we can call it as complex Fourier transform or infinite Fourier transform. So definition of the Fourier transform is capital F of small f of x, which is equal to f of s is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi. Integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity. F of x, small f of x, e power isx into dx. So this is the definition of Fourier transform. Capital F of small f of x is equal to f of s, capital F of s, which is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi, integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity, small f of x, e power isx into dx. Inverse Fourier transform is small f of x is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi, integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity, capital F of small f of x, e power minus isx into ds. This is inverse Fourier transform. Next, let us see the definition of Fourier transform pair. So the Fourier transform pair is what I said earlier. The Fourier transform as well as inverse Fourier transform, both are called as Fourier transform pair. So Fourier transform pair is capital F of small f of x is equal to capital F of s, which is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi, integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity, f of x e power isx into dx. Inverse Fourier transform is small f of x is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi, integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity, capital F of small f of x e power minus isx into ds. This is a Fourier transform pair. Next, let us see the definition of Fourier sine transform. Fs of f of x. Fs, this s stands for sine transform. Suppose if you write c, that is cosine transform. So Fs of f of x is equal to a root of 2 divided by pi, integral over the limit 0 to infinity, f of x sine sx dx. The inverse Fourier sine transform is small f of x is equal to a root of 2 pi pi, integral over the limit 0 to infinity, fs of f of x into sine sx ds. ds. This is the inverse Fourier sine transform. Next, let us see the Fourier cosine transform is capital F c of f of x. Fc of f of x is equal to a root of 2 pi pi, integral over the limit 0 to infinity, small f of x cos sx dx. Inverse Fourier cosine transform is small f of x is equal to a root of 2 divided by pi, integral over the limit 0 to infinity, fc of capital Fc of f of x into cos sx ds. This is the inverse Fourier cosine transform formula. Next, let us see the definition of convolution of two functions f of x and g of x is defined as f of x star g of x, which is equal to 1 divided by root 2 pi, integral over the limit minus infinity to plus infinity, f of t g of x minus t into dt. F of t, g of x minus t into dt. This is convolution of two functions f of x and g of x in Fourier transform. Next, let us see the convolution theorem. Convolution theorem statement is capital F of small f of x star small gx. So capital f of x star g of x is equal to capital F of small f of x, capital F of small g of x, which is equal to capital F of s, capital G of s. This is convolution theorem statement. Next, let us see the definition of Parseval's identity. So the Parseval's identity is integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus f of x whole square dx is equal to integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus f of s whole square into ds. So when you are going to solve the Fourier transform problems, the function will be given. So for the given function, you have to find first the Fourier transform of the given function. Next, you have to find the inverse Fourier transform of the given function. Next, any subdivision, if any subdivisions are given, next you have to find, there is only one way to deduce or derive the substitution using Parseval's identity. So Parseval's identity we can use, the subdivision should be or maybe power 4, power 6, power 8, power cube, like this. In this way, we have to use the Parseval's identity. While we are going to solve the problem, you can understand. Results to remember for Fourier transform is e power I sx, which is equal to cos sx plus I sin sx. So e power I sx is equal to cos sx plus I sin sx. What is the sin square theta? 1 minus cos 2 theta divided by 2. What is 1 minus cos theta? 2 sin square theta by 2. 2 sin square theta by 2. So thank you all. So you have to keep these all the things in your mind. Then only while we are going to solve the Fourier transform problems, which will these all the formulas will be very useful. Thank you all. Thank you.